I don't wanna sit in a get with you, baby, tonight. I don't wanna love, I don't wanna fight. I don't wanna have to tell you all the things I know. I don't wanna stay, but I don't wanna go. I don't wanna be the lover in your arms. I don't wanna be the one to keep you from home. I don't wanna be the crooked person in your heart. I don't wanna stop, but I don't wanna stop. Part-time lover, how we suffer now. And I don't wanna waste no more of your precious time. I don't wanna say that everything will be fine. I don't wanna feel your tears on my skin. I'm a coward, baby, don't let me in. Part-time lover, how we suffer now. So I don't wanna sit in a get with you, baby, tonight. I don't wanna love, I don't wanna fight. I don't wanna have to tell you all the things I know. I don't wanna stay, but I don't wanna go. shopping for me. We're weary eyes, no more will we. I'm going there to see my father. I'm going there, no more to roam. I'm just going over Jordan. I'm just going over home. I'm going there to see my brother. He said he'd meet me when I come.
Good day, this is Thumbs United. Now I'm getting the sound better. We are working on the California project, so let's get to work. Last week we finished, the hard drive has to wake up. I've had the project open for a little while, and when the hard drive hasn't been accessed, a lot of times it will just stop spinning, so then it has to spool up. Okay. So we edited this, got all the clips to the length we want. There's about 26 minutes of footage, and then we don't have any audio. What will happen is when I write the script or do the visual audiobook, this will all be rendered into one big file, and it is, stereoscopic footage, so it has to render the left camera and then the right camera. There's two separate cameras, just like your eyeballs, and so it will be rendered, all the color grade, all the edit, and then I just splice in the audio and do the sound effects and everything later. And the reason why I do it that way is because once it's rendered, I don't have to wait to record the audio to do everything. It can render while I'm working on other projects or actually recording the audio, and it does is the the computationally intense stuff, where in this case it's just color grading. But in other cases, like when I'm doing animation in 4K or 5K, that can take 2 or 3 weeks to do. Not one project, but like the edits, there might be 4 or 5 hours of footage to edit. I have to check something. Hold on. There's a little bit of echo. Okay, that should be better. So there's a little bit of so when I'm working on 3D or 4K or animation, I'll submit it to render before the audio or the script is even written or finished, and then it will take 2 or 3 weeks to render 5K, 4K, and then it's ready for me to just splice in the audio. And because it's done all the complicated things like animating is pretty hard, even two-dimensional photography animation, because it takes the photograph, which are 25 megapixels or 18 megapixels, and then it has to downscale it and blend all the pixels together, which is difficult with higher resolution photos. But it has to do it all the way down to 4K, where 4K is actually 8 megapixels. And so if it was 1080p, it has to downscale from 25 megapixels to 2, which is not as intense. But when it has to generate an 8 megapixel image from like 25 megapixels and animated, that will actually take a lot of processing juice. Okay. We're just gonna kind of make general changes. We're gonna add a white balance. This is shot with the GoPro 3D system. And so the GoPro's actually, this is with the Hero 2. And they do the auto white balance in the GoPro Hero 2. But you don't have a choice, so it will auto adjust. It's pretty good at auto adjusting. But we're just gonna fine tune it. And this part goes faster because once you kind of find the right settings, you can apply it, a lot farther. And because the images are compressed, like if we were shooting in RAW, we wouldn't, we'd have a lot more settings to change and everything. And even the RAW version in the GoPro Hero 3 Plus or 4. But there's not a lot of wiggle room with the earlier GoPros. So once you find something good, you kind of have to stick with that setting. Here we go. Where can I change this? This is scuba diver. So you become a biologist. You say, oh, I'm going to go study things in the ocean. And then you're all happy because you get a job at the California Science Center. And it ends up you become you clean the tank. So that's what the divers here do at the California Science Center. They go through and clean the tank, which is a pretty cool job to have, to be honest. Okay, and while this does look cool, with the color grade you need to have more evenly lit images for 3D. Like you don't want a lot of bright and then super dark because of crosstalk. And look, that's my face. You gotta get rid of that. You don't want to see the underside of my chin. Do. So there's the diver. He goes around and cleans the aquarium. And there he goes. Diving is a lot of fun. Like, I would love to get a diving job, even if it is only to clean an aquarium. It's actually funny in Hawaii. There's this famous hotel, I don't remember the name, But when you go there, you you sit in front of, you have these tables, and then on the wall there's this huge aquarium with all these fish and everything, and this mermaid will come and start swimming around. And so it's this lady, with the special tail fin. That's one, and so she swims around. So if it's your birthday, you can have her write, happy birthday, whoever you are, on the sign, and she'll come and swim and wave at you. So the kids love it. It's pretty cool. I vaguely remember it. I kind of saw it. I was there when I was like, might have been 4 or 5 years old. But that would be a nice job to have, just because you just, again, diving, where I really enjoy. I like productive swimming. Like, I don't like swimming just for fun. I like swimming to take pictures, and things like that. I love doing dive photography. I've streamed some of my photographs and videos from... Whoa! I'm accidentally deleting stuff. Can't have that. This is fast. I guess I was tired last time, because we could have definitely finished this the last stream. Here we go. We have to redo that color balance. Make it a little bit brighter. I know it looks like. Let me do the color balance again, because that shifted. You want to do, still not ideal. There we go, that's better. Okay, we're done with this section. I will open up the next section. Be right back. Okay, we are almost ready. Almost ready. It's importing the footage. And let's come back. So we might get in trouble for this. Not from Twitch, but maybe from Disney. This is footage from their theme park. And sometimes they get angry at you if you showed too much footage. So we shall see. We shall see. And again, we're working on California. You know what? I'll make this bigger so everyone can see. There we go. Everyone getting on the bus. The parking lot is huge. You can't really walk. I mean, you could, but it would take way too long to get to Disney. So you have the buses. And it's funny because when Disney was going to build the park, what he did was this was all farmland. A lot of places in California were just straight up, farm areas. It was very heavy in agriculture. And so, in order to keep the prices low, like Disney didn't want to pay too much, which, why would you want to pay a lot of money? You always want to pay the least amount if you're buying a house or property or anything. So instead of himself going out and buying, each farm, each area, because people would get suspicious. They would be like, oh, why do you need so much land? If one person's buying it, then we're gonna raise the prices because you obviously think it's really valuable and you're gonna pay through the teeth. So what he would do is he would have other people buy the land for himself, so it just looked like regular people were buying up the land. So he bought all the land that way for Disney, and that's how. So not only was Disney built, it was built pretty cheap in terms of getting the land, and everyone in California was kind of grumpy because it's like, we were swindled out of all this land and stuff. And Disney wasn't it wasn't his first idea. It's actually pretty common. I believe it was the Rockefellers who bought all this land. I think it was for the Grand Tetons, and so they had other people, buy the land, and then they bought it, but they were buying it on the Rockefellers' behalf. And so back in the day, in the Roosevelt era, national parks were really frowned upon. People didn't like the idea of national parks, mainly because people wanted to sell to buy these pieces of property by the mountains and everything, and then they could gouge the tourists and everything. And they did that, but but they didn't really take care of the area. So like the tourists and everything would litter and all this stuff. So it really wasn't good for the environment and such. And so then Roosevelt kind of, took some sections of land, and they did, force some people out who owned the area, and others they let stay, but they had rules they had to follow. But I believe it was Montana where Rockefeller bought a lot of land, and Montana was super against national parks. And even, there were a lot of fights in the government and in about executive orders where they're saying that, the president has too much power for the executive orders, and that he shouldn't be legally allowed to set aside, so much land for the national parks. And then, so what happened was the Rockefellers really liked the idea of the national parks, so they went in secret and had a whole bunch of other people buy this land in Montana, like huge amounts, like over 200 acres. I mean, essentially like this entire mountain range and everything. And so the original national park was quite small, and so the Rockefellers bought all this stuff, and then they gave it to the government. They said, we have all this area, and we want, their condition was that they wanted it to be a national park. And it was huge. It was so the original national park in Montana was not that big, but the area that the Rockefellers added to it was, it was over quadruple the size that was originally allotted. And the Montana people were pissed because they were like, we didn't want this thing to be this huge national park. And I mean, like, he bought it outright, so there was not much they could do. But, so it wasn't just Disney that did that. A lot of people, when they're buying up land, will buy it under fake names and stuff. And this footage that's 3D, what we do is 3D footage is, it's recorded with 2 cameras. They have fancy 3D cameras, and I have one of them where it's one unit that records 3D, but this is shot with the GoPro 3D, so there's a left camera and a right camera, and they record the exact same thing, only from 2 different perspectives, and that's what makes the 3D. It's not that one camera's focused farther away and one's focused close. No, they are recording the exact same thing, just the perspective is different. And that's one of the reasons why it's harder to actually do 3D with telephoto lenses and bigger cameras, because you have to have the focus exactly the same. And so when you're working with 35mm, you have depth of field, and you want shallow depth of field. That's one of the reasons why everyone likes 35mm and larger and 80mm. And so it's kind of hard to shoot that way, because with the movies you want to shoot something that is, traditionally looks good and in a two-dimensional format, which is a shallow depth of field, telephoto lenses, close-ups, and all that stuff. And all that is not really good for 3D. For 3D, you want infinity focus, which everything from which the GoPros do, which is everything from 3 inches away from the camera to all the way out to here. The edge of the universe is in focus. So that's why you never need to manually focus the GoPro, because it's essentially the shotgun of cameras, where you just aim it in the general direction of what you want, and it's in focus and in frame, because it's such a wide area. So because everything's in focus and it's a wide angle lens, that works out really well for 3D. But that doesn't look so good for two-dimensional. It's not classically what looks good in 2 dimensions if you're not viewing it in 3D. So you have this problem with the movies where they want to, that you don't want to have 2 separate versions of the movie, because then there are ways you can do it, but it's not great, where you kind of need a different style of shooting. And this is The Little Mermaid. Alright. And these robots, the robot technology and Disney was really scary. Like how cool it looked. I think they had a broken robot here though. There we got Ursula. Yesterday I had to end the stream early because I had errands to run, and it was intense. My mom got this used furniture, and it was really heavy, and so we had to just strategically load the car and everything. And like, because it's all this old used furniture, it's actually used from a library. It's solid wood, really thick. So luckily it came apart in pieces, but it was like I was sweating to death. And then we had to do multiple trips. We discovered this auction house, and it's funny because it's kind of local, and we never heard about it until there was advertisement from the library that said they sent some stuff there. And so it's actually really cool because like they have an auction every Thursday, but so we got a couple of things we needed. Like I got a chainsaw, and when I got it, I kind of assumed that it was like used stuff at the auction, but no, they get straight up new things, and then auction it off. And so it was like, wow, I got a brand new chainsaw. So the chainsaw normally costs $350, but I got it for $112. So that was nice. Because I have a lot of trees that have fallen, and I need to, cut up and everything. So that was like, yay. And I was a little worried because it's like, with two-stroke engines, they don't take straight up gas. You have to use an oil mixture. So you dump a little bit of, it's pre-measured, and so you dump oil into a gas can. They're little cartridges which hold like one container makes 1 gallon, so you dump the 1 gallon, you dump the oil that's in the container into a 1 gallon tank, and then over time you put that into the engine, either the weed whacker or the weed whacker or edger, or whatever two-stroke engine you have. And so they're very specific about which oil they need. Very specific. So normally I use steel in that equipment, and I highly recommend them. It is so nice. They work so well and consistently. I got discount weed whackers before, and they did not work well. They barely started. It was obnoxious. I had to constantly take them apart and rebuild them, and it was just not fun. I never had to do that with the steel. Now this ride was really fun. It's a tiny ride, and I think we did it multiple times, but and it's kind of slow. But I don't know, it's just really fun. A lot of quick turns, and like this, shoo, shoo. And yeah, it was just really fun and really tight. Like nowadays, I wouldn't film at a park. I have another uh, collection of park stuff. I have two. I have one in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and it's the Hershey Park. And then I have Universal. And I wouldn't shoot on rides anymore. Like when they get really angry at you. Not angry, but if it's like a roller coaster that jumps up and down and all this stuff, there is a concern that you will drop the camera. So even though I have it like tied to my hand, it it scares the ride technicians and stuff. And so it's just, I don't want the hassle. But and it is something where some of the people, some people ruined it, some people are obnoxious with the camera. Oh man, we're almost at an hour. I got the Ferris wheel, and this is California, the California park, and I don't think it exists anymore. I believe they changed it to the Pixar park, and so before there was Disneyland, and of course there's still Disneyland, but there was Disneyland, and then there was California Adventures, which is this section, and then there was the water park, and and so when you get the ticket, you don't get the ticket for just one. I mean, for all of them, you have to buy a separate ticket for California Adventure, for Disney Land, and the water park. They're all different prices, but conveniently, if you pay extra, you can get a pass for all three parks. And so it was nice, just going to one park. You can totally just spend a day at one park, and there's plenty to do. My sister doesn't like the heights. Oh, and this isn't a normal Ferris wheel. It like jostles you around. And so not only do you swing back and forth, but you slide forward and back in this loop direction as you go around. And so that track we're looking at So it is quite an experience. Yeah, Mr. Potato Head. Some of the robots they have that go around will actually talk to you. It's pretty cool. Not Mr. Potato Head. But back in the day, this is like 2003, they possessed this technology where, like at Disney World, they always had a Star Wars section at Disney World, and I think they had a small one at Disneyland. And this was before that the new Galaxy Edge, that's even larger, dedicated to Star Wars. But before that, they had the smaller Star Wars section, and anyway, they had like these R2 units that would drive around, and they would straight up talk to you, and they're like, "Hello, nice to meet you," and they're like, "Please throw your trash in the trash bin." So it's kind of funny, because there's actually a person that walks around at a distance from the R2 unit, like pretty far away, so you don't see them, and their remote control, like it's an advanced remote control. It's like the one, hobby people use for airplanes and stuff and everything. So they're flicking the switches, they're controlling the R2 unit, and they're talking into the microphone, and so that's a pretty cool job. You get to walk around and get a job doing the remote control driving around, and so I thought that was cool. And then this is part of the Pixar section. I think they made the Pixar section even bigger. This was in 2013. So this is the Cars area. And then Disney, even in 2013, they were pretty nice. Or if you have a food allergy, they will let you bring in your own food. It has to be sealed a certain way, like in containers and stuff. But they are also, um, they offer gluten-free and other options. Even if the restaurants, like there are little hubs of restaurants. So like at Disney, you can go to the cantina and they have specific types of food and Star Wars themed and everything and pizza and stuff. And so even though it might not say they have gluten-free options, you can say, hey, I have a gluten allergy, and the chef will actually come out and they'll tell you, okay, we have these gluten-free options, would you like that? And so they cook it fresh for you, and it's gluten-free, and they cook it in a separate area. So that's nice. And that was back in 2013. They still do that. And so if you can't eat gluten or have other food allergies, you can always ask. As long as you ask, and they will try to help you out. And trolley car. I love the trolley cars. I'm like a big train nerd. I think we're getting to the end. There's a drive lapse, which is where I record really long videos, and then I'd use time lapse photography to compress the time. So we'll drive thousands, not thousands, but 30, 40, 50 miles, and then that's an hour of driving if there's no traffic. And so then I speed it up and using the time-lapse methods. And so even though it says we're halfway through, we're close to the end. I guess there's one or two drive laps that snuck in. Got another trolley car. Yay! And I'm like chasing it down. I think I'm literally chasing it down. Getting you dizzy. And they had a ride here, which it wasn't, from Aliens, the movie, but it was kind of, it was, themed like that. But like it was like a horror ride, and so you go and you sit in these chairs, and you're going to Mars. In this, shuttle thing It's like a big shuttle because there's like 50 people in the room. And then you get there and this alien pops in your shuttle and you have to be quiet because he's looking for people to eat, and you're in these harnesses, and as he's walking behind you, each seat has its speakers, so you can feel him like behind you, and then it's blowing saliva air on you because he's like sniffing, but you're supposed to stay quiet so he doesn't eat you. But then as the ride progresses, he's sliding behind, he's creeping behind you, and the seats squeeze you, and they squeeze you pretty hard, and so it wasn't a fun ride. It wasn't pleasant. But what ended up happening was that several people ended up having a heart attack, because not because it's so scary, but if you have the slightest amount of claustrophobia, this will trigger it really badly, because it is a really hard squeeze that the ride did, and so they shut it down. It's kind of funny because I don't know why they built it in the first place, because it's not like it doesn't fit in with Disney. It's not really a Disney type experience you would think they have. So it was creepy and stuff, but anyway, it doesn't exist anymore because too many people died on that ride. It was more like the 4D experience, kind of like a theater that throws things at you and all that stuff. Let's see how much. We're almost done. Doodly doo doo doo. Doo doo. I'm very excited because I'm going to start recording a ton more audio. I built this rig that holds 2 shotgun mics, and I'm using it to record more binaural audio, like a lot more background binaural audio, nature sounds. I'm planning to do this really high quality recording of the car. Like I'm gonna record the engines, the muffler, all this stuff, and then record while driving. And so I'm really trying to focus on audio for this next batch of films we produce, and hopefully it will come out well. The big problem is that if you use a Zoom, which is a audio recorder, or where I use a Testcam, which is a different brand, both extremely good. Zooms are kind of more the industry standard, and because they're more the industry standard, they are a little bit more expensive. But they have, they have recorders at different levels of price. But I have the test cam, which is affordable, and I have kind of an entry level one. It cost about $80. But I have it rigged where I did some custom wiring for the microphones, and so I have it set where it records audio for the left side with the left shotgun microphone, and audio from the right for the right shotgun mic. And the reason why I had to do it custom is because it only has one microphone input, and it's a 3.5 millimeter. It's not even XLR, which ideally you want XLR, but you slap XLR onto anything, camera, audio recorder, it will drive up the price drastically, because if you're using an XLR cable, you are professional. That's not a consumer grade cable, and so I had to wire it so that the XLR mics go from the XLR 235 millimeter, and it was a little difficult to do, but I did it. And so now the audio, there's a left channel and a right channel. It's actually two different microphones into one plug. And but the problem is that all audio recorders, they eat so much battery. Like, you can record for maybe 2 hours and then your battery's dead. And like the Zooms take 4 or 6 batteries. Mine, because it's an entry level one, only takes 2, but it eats a lot of batteries. So I ordered a 20 pack of rechargeable batteries, and so I'm recording more visual audiobooks. I'm going to be going out into the wilderness and recording a ton of audio hours, and so once the rechargeable batteries come, I'm going to start doing that. So I lied. That wasn't Drive Labs footage. That was accidentally in there. It was. I forgot the camera was on and recorded that. Okay, so I'll be right back. We're gonna color grade. And yeah, be right back. Okay, I'm back. Get back to walk. Now we're gonna color grade. So it took us an hour and 20 minutes to edit something that came down to 30 minutes. And that's really good. Usually it's like for every 5 minutes you have to do an hour's worth of work. But it's technically not over because we have to record the audio and then edit that. So we do edit in chunks. And I am trying to do this to be low contrast and not so high contrast. The GoPros are like pretty, the contrast is pretty high, but there is a lot of wiggle room. Not a lot, but there's more wiggle room than if you shot on a cell phone or something. I have an errand to run, so we'll see. We shall see. And the GoPro's really uniform, so we don't have to do a lot of color changes. I made the settings so generic that it applies to a wide range of photography kind of recordings. So we're done with that. So I'll be right back. I'm setting up the next one. Okay, the next one, we are in for a treat. We are doing Northern California. This is the Monterey area. I'm currently loading. And then I'm importing the footage. There's not as much footage as before. There's a lot in that Disney section. There's about an hour of footage we sorted through. I'm gonna start off with my face. So this was a really tasty breakfast place. And this section's only 18 minutes. So we should be able to finish it pretty quickly. And then we will move on to the next one. And so this is kind of like a touristy pit stop area, and it's along I-5, going up kind of the center of California. We started in Los Angeles, and then we were moving on up. We were going to Berkeley to check out that school. This is actually a trip we did for my sister because she was visiting colleges. She was graduating high school, and we go to California quite often because that's where my extended family is, and so we go to visit them. So this is in the Monterey area. This is just a section of, this is like a park, but it's right on the edge of the street, so you can park there. As long as there's a parking space, you can park there for like 20 or 30 minutes and just walk along the coast. I got my sister. She's my spotter. chasing this seagull, it looks like. got a visitor. Okay, we're creeping towards the end. I believe there was 18 minutes of footage. We're currently at 13 minutes. Oh, I made a straight up lie. Looks like there's 13 minutes I just can't read. So we're done with the cuts. Now we're gonna do a quick color grade. It shouldn't be too difficult because all the stuff is kind of the same exposure and white balance and all that stuff. Color balance, curves, and white balance. We're gonna need the white balance for this first section. I don't think that did anything. Then again, I'm trying to make a lower contrast image. To a point. I'm gonna raise the contrast up here just a little bit. There we go. We're done. And that was it. I feel like doing one more. And save. I'll be right back. Let's see the next one we're doing. This one's just called Northern California Coast. This next project. There's not a lot at all. Okay. Now there's only like 5 minutes of footage, so we might do one more after this. Again, this was a pit stop. Make this even bigger for all y'all. All y'all. Oh man, you guys are in for a treat. We're about to see the lone tree. The lone tree it's a famous tree in Northern California because it's almost like the last tree of its kind. But for whatever reason, it is growing on the edge of you can see it right there. It's just growing on the edge of the cliff, all by itself. So it's been there for hundreds of years. Just chilling. Just chilling. I got worried. I thought it froze. It wouldn't be so bad if we had to start over. But it would kind of suck. Whoa. So that 5 minutes was cut down to 2 minutes and 41 seconds. And I'm sorry, I need more space. Okay, that's done. You know what? We might end it here, because the next one's pretty big, if I remember correctly. And I got errands to run. Yeah, it's too big to do right now. It's about the same size as Disney. I'll get the exact size. But I'm gonna do an experimental photography rerun featuring aerial photography and some of the visual audiobooks. So I'll be back. I'm gonna be streaming tomorrow. Alright, I'm gonna start at 11 a.m. We're gonna continue our work on the California project. Then Monday we go back to Halo. We are doing all the Halos, all the difficulties. And we started off with Halo Reach, and we did everything from easy to legendary. And now we are currently doing Halo 1, Halo Combat Evolved. We're still going through on easy. We're almost done. But then once we're done with easy, we're going to normal, then heroic, then legendary. So we're going to be on Halo CE for a while. And then, yeah, I want to thank everyone for coming out. See everyone tomorrow for a creative stream. And then Monday through Friday is the Halos. So, bye-bye.